Welcome back to the channel. I was been thinking about the our community and everything. Ignore my hair, I was messy. We all watch the videos of what people are finding, stuff like that. There's been videos of how to operate your printer, what tools do we need to start doing eBay reselling or reselling in general, whatnot. Poshmark, all of them. I'm in a transition period, and I'm trying to take this hobby that I've done for 10 years and turn it into a full-time business for my wife, which she kind of works off camera. But so I don't see a lot of videos on here on the things that you need to start asking when you're turning this into a part-time hobby into what do you do when you make it a full-time business. So I'm not there. I'm not full-time yet, but I'm building it to be full-time. I love my job, so I'm not going to quit my job. I make good money. So my wife, on the other hand, she works for schools and stuff. She doesn't hate it, but, she'd rather work from home, of course. So I'm trying to build this into a business where we surpass her income and look at stuff that what do we need? What do I need to be thinking of to make this a business, a full-time business? And what are some of the cons? What are some of the stuff we need to prepare for and everything? So one of the things was I used to sell a diverse thing. And as you've seen in my place before, we went from just selling everything to mainly clothes now. I was doing clothes and toys, but I'm realizing the clothes are kind of taking over. So the toys are probably going bye-bye too. It's probably just going to be used clothes, which is fine. But it made me think about how do I take a diverse hobby and turn it into this. So here's some of the things that maybe you guys are thinking about that are switching from that position. Or maybe you're down the road and you're just asking. But here's some of the things that I have kind of realized, and maybe this will help you guys. So my first thing was, do I pick a niche and sell one or two items or three or four, something like that? Or do I do diverse and do everything? And here's some of the stuff that I've ran into, the pros and cons. Some of the pros of selling everything, you have a wider net to catch the fish. Let's say each item diverse, whether it's toys, clothes, antiques, glassware, whatever. Let's say each one of those are a fish, and you're trying to catch as many fish as you can. If you've got more than one category, of course, you're going to throw more hooks out. You're going to find more stuff while you're out there looking. And that's some of the pros of being diverse, selling tons of different items. And in which I have, I'm going to turn this camera. I don't like to do this, but there's my diverse section. And then all the other stuff that I'm kind of in my, my garage is turning into more and more of the clothing. But this is my area that's kind of down to the diverse area and all that. So let me adjust that. Pros, you got a lot of, you can go out there and you can find a lot of stuff and stuff like that. And you can find on the niches and everything. Cons, just the opposite. You might not find as much stuff because you're you're limiting yourself down. One thing I ran into, vintage toys. Okay, you're not going to go to garage sales, every garage sale, and find vintage toys. You're just not. You could go to the flea markets and stuff like that. So will there be vintage toys? Yeah. Are there going to be tons of them? Maybe not. It's just playing on your area and all that. So if you niche down, you might have trouble finding stuff. And so that's one of my question was, if I niche down, what is something in my area that I can find a lot of? So for me, I've never seen a Gucci bag in Florida. I'm sure they're out there. But I've never seen a Gucci bag at the flea markets or the garage sales that were real. So if I chose Gucci, I'm not going to find any. So you got to find stuff that's in your area that is plentiful. And that was my first thing. What out there is plentiful that I can find of? Well, toys were one of them. Clothing was another one. Yeah, I mean, there's other stuff. Glassware, knickknacks, stuff like that. There's stuff out there. Sporting goods, stuff like that. So I had to choose a niche that I knew I could find a lot of. That was number one. So I chose used clothes. At first I chose women's used clothes, and I've found as the YouTube channel is gone that a lot of you guys say, oh no, men's clothes are better. I agree. Men's clothes are better. I sell more. They're easier to find. So I just kind of went that way. I still buy women's clothes, but it's more men now and all that. So is it readily available? That's the first question you got to ask. If you're going to niche down to 1, 2, 3, or 4 items, categories, then are they in your area? And are there a lot of them? Because if you're going to turn it into business, you're going to have to sell a lot. If you're going to have to sell a lot, you're going to have to buy a lot. And if you're going to have to buy a lot, it has to be out there to find. So that's your first question. Next question is, if it's something you can find a lot of, is it profitable? If you're out there and you're finding beanie babies, and I'm sure there's some rare ones out there, so don't get on to me for it. But the majority, I'd say 90% of all the beanie babies out there are worthless. So yeah, you might find thousands of beanie babies, but they're worthless. Nobody wants them, so it's a waste of time. So it needs to be profitable. Next, does it take a while to ship? Keyboards, electronic keyboards. I make good money every time I sold an electronic keyboard, but it'd take me a half hour to wrap an electronic keyboard because they're so, you have to build a Frankenbox and everything. It's a pain in the butt. And you know, you make 20 bucks and it took you a half hour. Yeah, if you sold 2 every hour, you make $40, but still, who wants to wrap for an hour with cardboard? Because there's no box that I found that were exactly the keyboard size, because they vary so much, so that would be worthless. So I didn't do keyboards. Clothing for me was easy. Put them in a poly bag, seal it up, weigh it. They usually weigh between 5 and 10 ounces. Out the door, put a label, and they're gone. That's why I chose clothing. Is it fragile? That's another thing. I don't sell glass and stuff very much. I sell lava lamps, but I know how to wrap them. Glass and stuff, plates, a lot of people do. That might be something you want to do. You might want to become an expert on wrapping those stuff. I don't mess with glass plates and all that because every time I have, they get broke. So if I spend all this time going to find an item and it's worth $50 and I ship it and it gets broke, not only have I lost $5 or $10 or wherever I paid for it, I lost $30 or $40 in potential profit because UPS or USPS broke it. So I don't choose glass. I'm not saying don't, but that's one of the reasons. Clothing doesn't get broke. Electronics, a lot of them don't work after they get there. VCRs I used to buy, but half of them didn't work, and time they got shipped, a lot of times they broke on the way there, and they just a waste of time for me. Clothing doesn't break. Ship it. I don't worry about it getting broken. It gets there. Worst case, somebody doesn't like the size of it, they ship it back, or it gets lost in mail every once in a while. So, all right, speeding this up because I'm talking too much. All right, now that you have your niche, is it time consuming? That goes back to what I was talking about with the keyboards. Does it take a long time to pack? I can grab a shirt off thing, grab a poly bag, throw it in the shirt, weigh it 5 to 10 ounces, put a label on it. I don't know, a minute. I've got it in the package and the thing. So if I get to the point where we're selling 100 a day, I can pack one in a minute. That means we can do all 100 of them in less than 2 hours. So that's kind of our thought process in the future. Do you have room for your inventory? That's a big thing. Clothing for me, we're in a garage right now. I've estimated I can do about 4,000, maybe 5,000 units in this before we have to move to a building. If you're selling bulldozers, you're going to get maybe one bulldozer in my garage. Probably not. Probably not going to get any in here. But what I'm saying is if you're selling, even let's just say the keyboards, if you're selling keyboards, you're not going to get 5,000 keyboards in here. You know, you might get 500 in here, so you have to look at how much room do you have. And, you know, that plays a part on it. Do you have the equipment to make it profitable? You know, if you're making $2 on an item and you got to spend 30 minutes wrapping it, and then you don't have sticker labels and you have to put the paper out and tape it all, and you spent 45 minutes to make $2, it's not worth it. You know, thermal printers work. I mean, you'll spend a ton of ink, you know, and stuff, but peel stickers off of them and slap them on, you know, it's got to be fast. So, because sooner or later you're going to get big. And when you get to the big part, you better have all this in line and streamlined so it's profitable. If it's not and you're making $10 an hour, you might as well go get a job at McDonald's. So, it's the bottom line. Do you have to? Is a profit worth the time? That's what it just meant. I mean, if you're spending all your time and you're making $10 an hour, why do it? You could do something else, make more than that. Can you sell enough to be full-time? That's another thing. Let's say lava lamps. I sell lava lamps, but I don't sell tons of them all the time. So I might have 5,000 lava lamps on here, but if I'm selling 2 a day and I'm making $20, you're not working full-time on that. So it's fine if you're part-time, like I've been doing. If I sell something, I make money. If I don't, then who cares? It'd be all right. It'll sell. But when you're doing a business, you've got quotas, you've got bills and stuff like that. You better be selling enough. So got to find an item that you're going to sell enough of. Kind of hence why I chose clothing, because all kind of people need clothing. I looked at it as what do the majority of United States people or international people, however, you're doing it, or if you're doing both, what do they need? They need clothing. So do they need all the clothing I'm buying? Hopefully I'm putting the sell-through rate in place, which that took a little bit for me to learn, but put sell-through rate in and, make sure that I'm selling high-quality clothes that people want. So that way you're selling enough to make it profitable so you can go full-time or not. So last thing on the list, and there's plenty more, if you guys put comments on things else to worry about. That way the people watching this can learn and see your comments and go, oh yeah, this other stuff, anything extra cost. When I was doing it as a hobby, everybody gave me boxes. Great. I didn't buy no boxes. But, and that's another thing with diverse. With diverse, you have to have tons of different boxes because not one box fits all. Clothing, though, 2 or 3, you got them. I use 10 by 13 poly bags. That does most of my shirts. I do a little bit bigger ones for coats and jackets, but that's about it. I don't need tons of boxes, but you do if you're doing diverse. So that's something to think about if you're going to niche down. But cost, if you're doing hundreds of sales a day, which I'm not even close to being that, but when you get to that point, that's 100 poly bags I'm going through a day shipping out. That's 100 plastic bags. I put them in my boxes, shipping out. So those are costs that I got to remember. Those are going to add up. Before it wasn't a big deal, but now it is. Labels. If I'm going through 100 labels, that's almost, one of my thermal rows is 220. That's about every 2 1/4 day I'm going through one of those labels. They're only $8 to $9, but I got to take it in a chance, like 3 or 4 cents. So you got to start thinking that way. Gas. Right now I don't really track my gas, but if I'm going out tons and I've got to list 50 a day, that's 350 items I got to go find every week. I'm going to be sourcing more, so that means I'm going to be driving more. And if you're shipping, hopefully they're coming to the house and the mailman's picking it up. Like mine, they all pick mine up at the office. You can schedule them to pick it up at your house, so that might not be a big deal for the mailman and cost to the post office. But that's my situation. You might be out in a rural area where the mailman doesn't pick up stuff, so you have to drive half hour in to drop up your shipment every day. So gas, every day you got to be thinking about. Taxes, CPA, a lot of you guys do your own taxes. Once you get big, man, I'd recommend getting a CPA. And I'm not giving you tax advice. I'm just saying, once you get to a point, it gets complicated. And you got to do all this deductions and stuff. Let a professional do it. But that's stuff you got to pay for, so you got to think about that. Tape, right now I get enough tape through eBay. When I do the store gives you $50 free for me every quarter. Usually I'll buy that, and I'll buy some boxes, and buy some poly bags, and, kind of keep going. But as you get bigger, you're going to outdo what eBay's giving you for free. So now you got to buy it. So you got to take that into effect, all the costs for that. Me right now, I'm in a garage, but when we get to full time, if my wife's doing 100 a day or even 50 a day, that means we're going through 350 a week in sales. So we're probably going to be above 4,000 to 5,000 units. We're probably going to be 10, 15, 20,000 units in a building. So when we get to that part, the garage ain't working anymore. We got to either build a building, or we got to go rent a building or buy a building. And however that is, that costs money. So you got to kind of start thinking that, okay, now I'm going to have to move to a bigger place. If I move to a bigger place, utilities, you got utilities now, you got computer systems, you got electricity, water, all that. You got to start thinking about that stuff. And I'm sure I'm missing a lot more, but those are just some of the transition things to think about why you're, because right now everybody's dreams like, oh, I want to have my own business and make it big. And yeah, okay, well, that's going from this to this is it's a big jump. And I'll be honest with you, I'm enjoying it, trying to transition, but I've noticed lately, and I'm still having a blast and having fun. I love the YouTube videos, love going out with my mom and all that. It's still fun. But it's become to, now I got a quota. I got to go out and get it. Before it was just go out and have fun with her. But now it's like, oh my God, I need to go find, 50, 100, 200. Right now, I'm getting what I can. I'm trying to do 5 a day. That's my goal right now. But I will soon bump it up to 10. I've watched my sales starting to go up. And I'll bump it to 10 and then 15 and then 20. I've already told my wife when we get to certain points, you're going to start having to list with me. So as that progresses, I got to buy more and more. So the fun kind of goes away some and it becomes more of a job, but that's okay. I'm having fun doing the job because I like being in business anyway. So this video is getting long, but anyway, how do you transition from a hobby to a full-time? And again, I'm not full-time yet, but these are some of the things to be thinking about. So you might be in the same position. Thanks for watching. See you guys.